Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of The Mindful Addict, and today it's all about routine. So, what do I mean by routine? I don't mean an obsessive pattern that we become compulsive around. I do mean, though, a gentle process that we cultivate that creates habits that help align with healthiness. My routine now, this is, after years of practice. My routine, I wake up every morning at 7 a.m. It doesn't matter, weekday, weekend, because it's all about the habit. I go have breakfast. And then I come back for second sleep, right? So I sleep for about an hour for second sleep. And then meditate. After meditation happens, I get up, I get ready for my day. I usually will go into the office and see a couple clients, maybe 2 or 3 clients in the more morning hours. And then I have lunch at noon every day. And everybody at my office knows that from 12 to 1, that is Darren's lunch hour. That's it. Then, after lunch, I'll either do another meditative sit or I'll go for a run. And I'll run for about an hour to 2 hours. Then I come back. I go back to the office where I'll see 2, 3 more clients. I limit my schedule now to 4 clients a day. And then after that, I'll do my notes. After my notes, I'll return emails. After emails, which takes about an hour, I'll do any phone calls. And by then, it's pretty late at night, probably 8, 9, 9:30. And I'll head home. I'm usually in bed by 10:30. Lights out at maybe 11, 11:30 at the latest. Now, that's not a great schedule because I'm not getting enough sleep. That being said, that's a work in progress for me. Many people, when I tell them my schedule, say, oh yeah, well, that's easy for you, Darren. You own your own company. You can make your own schedule. I can't, One, it's not easy for me. It hasn't been easy for me. I don't think it will ever be easy for me. And the reason why is my mind, first of all, my mind says that's boring, right? My addictive mind says a routine, a schedule like that, that's totally fucking boring. Who wants to do that? And I have to remind myself, after the chaos in my life, boring is a little good. After the pandemonium and chaos that has existed in my active addiction, a little bit of boring can be a good thing. Pushing 50 now, I'm good with boring at this point. The other thing is it was not easy for me. And I will give you an example of me setting a schedule like that. And I'm not saying for you to do this, but I want to give you an example of me setting a schedule like that where I actually had real consequences. So I was working for a local therapy center in Westwood, California. And we were in a staff meeting. The vice president was there. Everybody was there. And I had reached my 40 hours. And I come from a blue-collar family. My parents are both union workers. And I have been what has been enshrined in me is the fact that you don't work for free. And so when my 40 hours was up, I very quietly and politely gathered my belongings and started to leave. And I walked out of the meeting, not rudely, and my boss came up, followed me out and said, Darren, where are you going? And I said, well, his name's Jay. And I said, Jay, I've reached my 40 hours. And he said, well, so you're salary. And I said, well, Jay, are you going to pay me if I work less than 40 hours? Well, no. I said, I don't work for free. I'm going home. I went home, and I also lost my job. So the point is Obviously, it can be a little bit too extreme, and yes, it can be hard. But the question isn't whether or not it's hard to do. The question is, what is necessary for you to do? And what we know, beyond any shadow of a doubt, is a balanced schedule where you have routine, where you have time to cultivate self-care, where you have time to make sure you get enough sleep, where you have time to minimize the work hours that you have, is necessary for recovery. It's not a negotiable thing. In other episodes, we'll talk about how to do that in a way and cultivate that in a way that allows you not to lose your job, because obviously we all need to have a job. But when you say, when the mind starts to create this fantasy about how, it's so easy for this person, look at, because they have this. No, they didn't have that in their life out of the blue. They made choices and decisions to create a life that allowed them to foster that. And that's, in recovery, what you need to do, and it's what I had to do too. And yes, there may be consequences. And the truth is I lost that job, and thank God I did, because it forced me to be able to start my own companies and to create a life where I had balance. So, routine isn't about, making this huge change all at once and reorganizing our whole lives. Routine isn't about any of that. Routine is about taking one small step at a time. So maybe you pick your wake up time. Maybe you pick a bedtime. Maybe you just carve out your hour lunch. And yes, an hour lunch. Whatever that is, you pick that one thing. And then you start to practice it. And you do your best to continue to grow the habit of that structure in your life, over time. Even if it takes a month, 2 months, 3 months, it's taken me years to create a life like this. But you know what? The time was going to go by anyways. So better to create it than to just continue in the chaos that was my past. And so you just do that. So whether over the next, 3, 4, 6 weeks you choose a wake-up time, or whether you choose a sleep time, or your lunch time, or going to the gym. By the way, creating routine about the gym. We'll talk about physical exercise later, which is absolutely another domain of recovery that has to happen. But for now, it's about that small step. Your lunch time, your wake-up time, your sleep time, the amount of hours you work. If you're in a job where you're so overstrung that you're working 60 hours a week, stop. So you create a routine, and that creates habits. And yeah, you might set your alarm. Like, when I first started waking up at 7 a.m., I am not a morning person. And so when I started waking up at 7 a.m., I just shut the alarm off and slept right through it. However, I practiced. And over time, your body and your mind will do whatever it is you trained it to do. And how do you know that? Because in your active addiction, you trained your mind and your body to cultivate more active addiction. So you know that the proof is in the pudding. You know that that's possible. All we have to do is retune and retrain, and that's what we're doing. So if you set that alarm for whatever your wake up time is and you sleep through it, that's okay. There's tomorrow. So you set it again, right? If you go to bed at your 10 or 11 o'clock at night and you can't sleep, that's okay. Notice your breath, right? And over time, as you continue to do this, you will be able to. So it's about continuing that practice. It's not about judging yourself. And in fact, when you see the mind judging you for maybe starting to construct your routine and you don't hit the mark, you exercise what we talked about in our previous episode, self-compassion, right? That's why this process, that's why I kind of bring it up in the way that I do, right? Because one builds on the other. And so create that routine through kind, compassionate, gentle, habit-forming behaviors or consistency. And over time, you'll just start doing it automatically. Now, I don't even have to set an alarm. 7 a.m., my eyes are open. So thank you so much again for your time and for your compassion. Be gentle with yourself, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.